Civil War.
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother.
Which side of the aisle is really spewing hateful rhetoric?
Pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard, art teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show, exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
How much longer can America survive this kind of hatred?
Video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
I want people to imagine an FBI director that has the stones to investigate the deep state. Imagine a justice system that has the integrity to prosecute corrupt government officials. They have refused to apply the 14th Amendment and give conservatives equal protection under the law. What we've seen here has been the gradual takeover of the government by corporatism, by globalism. They have wrested control of our government away from the citizenry and put it in the hands of a few special interests. And these special interests are as evil as the day is long.
We finally do have a president who has the integrity to do this. We finally do have a DOJ who has the integrity to do this. We know that we have people around the president who not only have the integrity, but have the information and the contacts to get everything done you just said. And you say, well, why aren't they doing it? Everything you're seeing on the news, that's what it's about. That's what this investigation's about. That's what calls of impeachment are about. That's what the globalist attack against Trump is about. That's what the hearings are about. That's what the allegations of Russian spying are about. It's about keeping them off point, keeping them off the agenda, keeping them off task. A lot of what you're watching happening right now, and the misdirection and the complete trying to keep Trump off target goes to that birth certificate. The worst crime in American history was perpetrated against America under the regime of Barack Obama. The media is complicit. Congress is complicit. Federal law enforcement apparently has been complicit. We've got a CIA whistleblower, Dennis Montgomery, whose attorney, Larry Klayman, put it all over the internet the other day that he has said that all of this spying that's been going on American people, that it resulted in manipulation and collusion with judges, Supreme Court justices, congressmen, etc., that James Comey was involved in it, that he was at the top of it. All of this stuff you're seeing about Donald Trump's with the Russians, Donald Trump needs to be impeached, Donald Trump, this is a smokescreen to keep our eyes off of what really happened and what's really going on. And America had better wake up to this, JJ.
Your federal government, your federal law enforcement agencies, our federal intelligence agencies, your federal government in toto has been compromised. The fact that Donald Trump has arrived and said, I'm not going to go along with the status quo anymore, is the cause for alarm for these people on the left. And ultimately, Carl, is it possible that yesterday was simply the first shot fired in an impending civil war between two irreconcilable ideologies?
I don't want our children and grandchildren to see or to participate or to fall victim to such a thing. I don't want our nation to go through such a thing. I don't know that we could survive that. Like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, when he said, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any other nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. I mean, God's people, we need to pray. We need to not be afraid to speak truth.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show. Exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state. The following is a Nightside Radio Studios production.
From the wind-powered Nightside Radio Studios,
tear down this wall.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
It's this man. It's the compassion. It's the dignity. It's the wisdom. It's the horse sense of the guy.
Did you know that 65% of the people murdered in the last 10 years were killed by handguns?
Would it make you feel any better, little girl, if they was pushed out of windows?
The American people have seen the truth, and they can see through your lies. There's coming a day when publications such as yours turn into nothing more than flea market advertising. They'll be handing it out for free in grocery store parking lots under everybody's windshield wiper. Yeah, that's the future for the Washington Post and the New York Times and every other liberal publication in this country. We are not going to tolerate your bull anymore. None of it. The American people are fed up. I thought we made that clear on November 8th, but apparently you people in the media just don't get it. A new chapter in American history begins now.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America.
Donald Trump is the person to make America great again.
We are a team.
They said it couldn't be done.
Together we will lead our party back to the White House.
He said it must be done.
Beginning on January 20th, we cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. The most important difference between our plan and that of our opponent is that our plan will put America first.
Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, thank you, Marcus. And hello there, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 6th day of February, and I am J.J. McCartney. We've got Dr. Mark Davis with us today. And oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, as I was telling you yesterday, this too shall pass. And sure enough, today the markets have settled down. The roller coaster ride, while I cannot guarantee that it won't start again, but right now, everything is back to normal. There's not a whole lot to worry about. There's a lot of folks out there that were just, especially in the news media, hyping the changes in the market. Dr. Mark Davis with us. Hello, Dr. Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chad. How do you feel? How's everything with you?
Well, it's going all right. I had a little bit of a fall last Friday, and injured myself, but I'm okay. I'm sitting here and
I'm together, and you're here and ready to go.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly
you don't need two functioning legs to do this. So, thankfully, if I was an Olympian, then I'd be worried, but I'm not an Olympian. Actually, even if I was an Olympian, it depends on what we're talking about. It's amazing to me that here we are. We're Thursday. The Olympics start, the Winter Olympics, and it caused me to look back in time 20 years. And 20 years ago, I'm not making this up. 20 years ago, where do you suppose I was?
I don't know. I hope you were in a place you enjoyed.
20 years ago, I was in the hospital. 20 years ago, I was in the hospital with pneumonia, and so I was watching the Winter Olympics from my hospital room, and that was the year that Tara Lipinski stormed onto the scene and took the gold medal away from Michelle Kwan, and it just doesn't seem possible that was 20 years ago. But time
moves on.
I look at the Olympics, and I go back in time to like the summer of 1972 in Munich, and it really makes me realize how fast the time goes by, because the summer of '72, that was, holy crap, that was 46 years ago.
Yeah. It goes fast.
It doesn't see. You remember Dave Waddle? He was a marathon runner. And then in 1972, there was also Frank Shorter. Of course, there was Mark Spitz. There was Olga Korbut. And then, of course, there was the tragedy with the Israeli team and the terrorists. But, it's just amazing how fast it goes by. And so this time around, we're traveling to South Korea for the Winter Games. I can't even pronounce the name of the city that it's in, so I'm not going to try. But it's amazing to me how fast it goes by. And even
it's uncanny.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I hear your voice. It's uncanny how fast time goes into the future. It's absorbed so quickly, and here we are, and we're still sprout and healthy and moving forward, and we have this great show for us today. Great show. And I've
got a philosophical question I'm going to ask on one of my future shows, because it's something that mankind needs to think about. And so on a future show, not today's show, but on a future show, the question I'm going to ask the audience and everybody else is, what is time? I'm going to ask people to give me a definition for the word time. And it can't be out of a dictionary. It's got to come from your own brain as to what is time. Because it's something that people need to think about. Because as much as people like to think that it's an infinite resource, certainly I think we can prove through our own lives and the lives of people we love that time is not infinite. Isn't that right?
Well, it depends on what perspective you take it. If we take it from the top down, from the Creator's perspective, yes, time is infinite for him. For us, it's finite because of our lifespan. And
exactly.
That we see around us.
And that's
time relates to movements and motion
of
objects, planets, and things like that. So.
And that's why the question will be asked as to what is time. And it really, as you said, depends on your perspective, depends on how you're looking at it, whose eyes you're looking through. But it's something to think about anyway. But Dr. Mark, yesterday, historic day on Wall Street, with the market losing 1,175 points after losing 666 points last Friday.
Yeah.
And, that would be enough to put the fear in a lot of people. But, what goes up must come down. And I think that we just made it through a market correction. What do you think?
I think there's more corrections to come. I think any perturbation in a historical context presently, if something comes up out of the government, or the Koreans make a move, or the Chinese, who are moving troops to their borders right now, anything, a war starting, will make this market fall very, very quickly. It's quite inflated at this point. Billionaires, people, not only are they billionaires, they become centi-billionaires now in the form of Jeff Bezos. So we see a market here that time has come for a major correction.
Now, by the way,
part of it, it's still 6,000 points up from the time Trump came in.
Well, and just to show you, I told you folks yesterday that don't panic. This is bound to happen. There's a lot of profit taking place, as would naturally be the case. And when the profit taking starts, it's like the computers kick in because they have this algorithm that tells the computers to automatically sell once the market goes this far one way or the other. And so the computerized trading is really what drove the declines. But today the Dow is now up 500 points today, and this is just part of the game. You cannot expect. It's like Bill Parcells said one time. He said, the circus can't be in town every day. And so, you're not going to win the lottery every day on Wall Street, but, traditionally, if you stay in the market for the long haul, you do okay.
If you want to play in the world's biggest casino, you can get stung, and people got stung yesterday.
Yep.
They didn't expect it, but it's going to come. It's going to get worse down the road. I feel it's going to drop back into the teens for sure.
Well,
I don't
at
know
some
when,
point,
how I'm no market predictor, but that's what it seems like to me. It's just too inflated. Janet Yellen.
Yep. She said it was overvalued.
That it was
yeah.
And I agree with her, and many people do. A lot of the economists do.
I talked a bit about that yesterday, just to say that her observation is was perfectly appropriate, that the market is overvalued. However, as the chief of the Fed, I don't necessarily think that she needs to say things like that real loud, because it does tend to get amplified in the media, and then the next thing you know, you've got the selling frenzy going on. Well, Dr. Mark, in a totally different arena, a judge in California has issued a key ruling on same-sex wedding cakes. I don't know if you heard about this, but a California judge has refused to advance a social agenda in his state that targets Christians who refuse to endorse homosexuality through their work. In this case, it was a baker, Kathy Miller, of Tastries Bakery, who was put in a state bullseye because she refused to use her artistic talents to promote the wedding of two lesbians. The state asked Superior Court Judge David Lamp to issue a preliminary injunction ordering Miller either to create wedding cakes for same-sex couples or be barred from serving anyone. The judge recognized that the issue is not about discrimination against same-sex couples, saying the state is not petitioning the court to order defendants to sell a cake. The state asks this court to compel Miller to use her talents to design and create a cake she has not yet conceived, with the knowledge that her work will be displayed in celebration of a marital union her religion forbids. For this court to force such compliance would do violence to the essentials of free speech guaranteed under the First Amendment. The same issue is before the United States Supreme Court in a case brought by Colorado baker Masterpiece Cake Shop. The owner, Jack Phillips, who, by the way, we've talked to. We actually went to his bakery and bought some goodies there, and told him we supported him. He refused to make a cake for a gay couple for a same-sex wedding. At a time, by the way, when same-sex marriage was illegal in Colorado. The Supreme Court is expected to announce a verdict within the next few months on that, and then, hopefully, Dr. Mark, this ridiculous issue will be settled once and for all.
I don't think that's going to go away that easy. It may just be on a regional area. I thought California would go and push bakers to making cakes for homosexual. Apparently they're not. So there's some non-liberal judges out there as well. Yeah. I don't know who this particular judge is. But he sounds like a very smart fella, and I'm glad he's out. I'm assuming it's a fella.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I truly do believe once the Supreme Court rules, and I do believe that the Supreme Court will find for the defendant, Jack Phillips, I think they will rule that no, you cannot compel any artist to do something that goes against their religion. It's that simple. It's the First Amendment. And once that is ruled on by the Supreme Court, I think that will be the end of this kind of ridiculousness. I mean, where what they're doing is targeting Christian business people, and we saw the same thing with venues where events are held that choose not to participate in gay weddings are suddenly not allowed to participate in any weddings. And that, too, I believe, is a violation of the First Amendment. And I think that once this case gets settled, up and down, all around, everybody is going to have to be brought to the realization that the First Amendment does guarantee us the right, indeed, to refuse to do business that promotes something that's against our religious beliefs.
My question is, why is it always in the minority's right and not the majority's right? What happened to democracy in and of itself that they would force bakers to make cakes against their will, against their religion, against their corporate policy, and the whole litany of things that they're going against? And it's that important for lesbians, gay couples, homosexuals, who I'm not against in any fashion, except for the marital part, is more important than the baker's rights. I think the baker has rights too, and the baker is asserting the rights, and I think the baker should stay in court as long as they can afford to. This is a very expensive proposition to go to court.
But what this is, though, but what this is, Dr. Mark, is it's an aggressive, attempt by the homosexual lobby to force their lifestyle down the throats of people that they know don't believe in it. It is a form of provocation. It is intended to say, we're here, we're queer, and we're coming after you. And that is the part of this that everybody in America needs to understand. And you look at this, America is the home of the free and the land of the brave, and everything that happens in America happens under the blanket of the Constitution. And the thing that makes so many people irate is the fact that right across the street from Masterpiece, or whatever it's called, is there are a dozen bakeries that will do gay wedding cakes. They choose to go after the one that says they won't. And to me, this exposes the gay agenda for what it really is. This is not about rights. This
is selective prosecution. People understand that. It narrows into one particular area on one particular person instead of going after, let's say, a class action suit against bakers in general that don't perform cake preparation for lesbians. So I think there's a problem here, and there's a big problem. I don't think the Supreme Court's going to put it to rest. I think it's going to be a regional thing. And
I disagree. It's going to be, once the Supreme Court rules on it, that's going to be settled law, just like Roe versus Wade.
Well,
I don't think it's going to be
a lot of spotty issues in Roe versus Wade. Wade too. When she came back and she reversed her feelings about abortion herself years later. Yeah, but nevertheless, whenever there is a Supreme Court decision, there are always holes in it. There's always ways around it. I think there'll still be litigation from the gay community against bakers. If it's not against bakers, they'll say shoe dealers don't want to deal with them, or no one wanted to give them the gasoline. There's always going to be something.
Are they saying
they don't want to get gas? My son wasn't taught the lifestyle, the gay lifestyle.
The shoe store. We're going to sue the shoe store because the loafers aren't light enough.
Yes, the loafers are. It sounds like an Al Bundy piece, but it is true. They'll come up with something. In Maryland, there's lawsuits here against everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing. I should have a couple myself. Why not? Why not get rich? Get doing that. I mean, right? Somebody look at me right in the hospital when I went in for my knee overnight. Okay, let me sue them. They'll settle.
One of the things that I think could lead to the downfall of Western civilization is the litigious nature of the American people these days. Everybody is always thinking in terms of who can I sue? If I, for example, I could sue the makers of the laminate flooring in my house for the fact that I fell and hurt my knee. Okay. It's like at some point in time, we got away from the idea that, everybody has to take responsibility for their own actions, their own behaviors. And you know what? If you fall and break your leg, it's not anybody else's fault. I mean, unless there's some gross negligence involved.
No, that's not the way Obama portrayed it. It's always someone else's fault, You didn't do well in school, probably the tests were too hard. They did it on purpose.
Right.
You didn't get into Harvard. Well, they're discriminating. Not that you didn't merit getting it. That's the age that we live in, right? The age of unreasoning.
Here's another
the Robert Reich age, if you will.
here's another disturbing thing, and I don't know why I didn't lead with this today, except for the fact that it just didn't have the same impact as it did when it happened in Hawaii. And I'm talking about the another false alarm from the National Weather Service issuing a tsunami warning for the East Coast. I could not believe what I was reading this morning. A false tsunami warning sent to the East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean. Some residents along the East Coast received a false tsunami warning this morning after a private company sent out an alert following a monthly test by the National Weather Service. A tweet from the National Weather Service in Charleston, South Carolina, said the alert was sent around 8:30 this morning. We have been notified that some users received this test message as an actual tsunami warning, the National Weather Service tweeted, adding that a tsunami warning was not in effect. I'm looking at these tweets and I'm thinking to myself, okay, in Hawaii, it took an individual hitting the wrong button twice to issue a false warning of an incoming missile. And now today, we have a tsunami warning issued. And it's a false alarm. Now,
let me just start. In regard to Hawaii and the initial missile coming from North Korea, as he thought, he actually said he believed that. He thought there was a missile attack coming, and he was to warn the public. How that came about, I'm still not clear. I did read the article on that, but it is what we hear. A lot of problems. Look at Amtrak, for example. There are 4 accidents in the last month. We just had one here in Aberdeen, Maryland, you may have not heard about yet.
Yeah, I did. The one where it broke apart, where it was going 125 miles an hour. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's 8 miles from here, 10 miles from here.
You know, but the thing is, the news agencies need to do a better job of describing this, because the headline on Drudge says Amtrak train breaks apart doing 125 miles an hour. Now, I don't know about you, but the term breaks apart insinuates that there was some kind of wreck, okay? Yeah. Now, the proper term would have been Amtrak train decouples going 125 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Instead,
that's what it should have been.
Exactly.
Look who's writing the headlines. Anybody coming out of
journalism school. Yeah,
the journal, probably the Syracuse University journalism school. I went to school up there, not in Syracuse University, but the medical school next door. They weren't well trained at all. Some of these, they were on TV there.
Well, the thing is, I mean, this could have been disastrous. It really could have. Going 125 miles an hour. And the way that these Amtrak trains are built, passengers can walk from one car to another while they're in motion. And if they had been while this was going on, somebody could have easily fallen to their certain death.
The Amtrak that goes between Washington and, let's say, New York, it's not a long train. I mean, it's like 7 cars, 8 cars, something like that. You should see some of them could be 30, 40, 50 cars.
Wow.
They're going cross country. I've seen them. Unbelievable. Most of the passenger trains are short, 5, 6, 7 cars, and that's what happened in the other 3 accidents, excluding Aberdeen. We saw that. So 2 dead, 60 injured, and the numbers are changing as we speak.
Wow.
Always, because they don't have the full medical histories yet. It is something for Amtrak to look into. The last one that was, I think, South Carolina, was a freight train in that case.
Right.
Crashed into it. They're blaming the freight train.
What we haven't heard, and what I haven't heard, I don't know if you have yet, is all the details of the Amtrak train that collided with the garbage truck. The Amtrak train was, I have to be careful how I say this, because if I could have said it this way, the train collided with the garbage truck carrying 300 congressmen, but no, it was the train that was carrying 300 congressmen, not the garbage truck.
Well, that is an unusual case you bring up, because it's sitting across the tracks.
Yes.
And there are hundreds of these congressmen and their families, and one woman has 8 children, one of the congresswomen's family, and everybody within there was thrown about. I don't know if anybody died in that particular.
Well, not
what
in
is the garbage truck doing there? And surprisingly, they're mostly Republicans going to a retreat.
Yeah. Well, it was all
Virginia.
Republicans. It was all Republicans.
Yeah.
The only fatalities were the driver of the garbage truck. One of the others was in the garbage truck, was injured. We don't know how severely.
So you're saying he was a suicide trucker?
Well, here's the thing: we still haven't heard any of the particulars. Have not heard the identity of the driver of the garbage truck. We don't know whether this. See, immediately they said it was an accident, and I'm sorry, but I don't believe in that kind of coincidence. I sure don't believe
the name Hussein Mohammed Habib. We didn't hear that name yet. If that comes up, we'll know who did it. He's probably a Democrat.
Well, that's the thing that we don't know, and I think that it is important that we get this information, and that the police, the investigators, the NTSB, or whoever, they need to be forthcoming about this, because I happen to think that it's as likely as not that this was an act of terror, and the longer that they withhold the information, the more suspicious I get. I'm looking at this. Okay, the identity of the driver of the garbage truck is identified as a guy named Christopher Foley of Louisa County. So apparently the truck driver obviously died. Another man in critical condition at last report. But, there still needs to be a full investigation. And it really angers me when the police come right out and say, oh, this was just an accident. First of all, they can't possibly know that until they do a lot more research.
Well, that is tantamount to the Las Vegas shooting on October 1st,
yes,
2017, where I was there in Las Vegas that week, and they claimed it was only one shooter, and they were very quick to state that. And where did they get that information from? And that it wasn't an act of terror, which I think it's an act of terror. It was done by the American Stephen Paddock, but nevertheless, they're very quick to answer questions like that. Oh, it wasn't an act of terror, sure. They're trying to allay the fears of people. But imagine one person could spray. Now it's not 500 people anymore. They're claiming it's over 800 people that was sprayed with bullets.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's just amazing.
It is, and it's again, the longer, the longer time goes by and people forget about it, the more it becomes, just another incident. And people need to understand that, we cannot afford to ignore what is right before our eyes. It's an insult to the intelligence of the people for them to make these statements. It's just irresponsible.
While we're on this particular topic, the autopsy reports have still not been released of the Stephen Paddock, and I don't think all the reports are for the 58 victims. 68 murdered victims. Why would they do autopsies when they know what happened?
Yeah.
They're looking for the bullets in the bodies themselves. Maybe there was a second or third shooter, and if they could identify the bullets, there were no other guns were involved.
Right.
And that means other shooters most likely. So that was why.
Dr. Mark Davis is with us. We do need to take a quick time out. We'll come back with more in just a minute. And folks, the toll-free phone lines are open. Toll-free phone lines open right now. If you have a question for myself or the doctor, the phone number is 855-853-5227. Call us toll-free, 855-853-5227. More to come in just a minute.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to mountainviewoffgridliving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at mountainviewoffgridliving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage, no problem. Advice, no problem. Call our good friend Sue at mountainviewoffgridliving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at mountainviewoffgridliving.com.
You send a kid to the emergency room for a treatable illness like asthma. They end up taking up a hospital bed. It costs you gave them treatment early, and they got some treatment, a breathalyzer or an inhalator, not a breathalyzer. You know what? It would cost about the same as what we would spend over the course of 10 years. It would cost what it would cost us. All right, okay. We're going to. It would cost us about the same as it would cost for about, hold on one second, I can't hear myself. And they got some treatment, and you gave them treatment early. I haven't had much sleep in the last 48 hours, so.
Someday there'll be a cure. Someday we won't lose the people we love. But when is someday? Someday is today. Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, hundreds of thousands diagnosed with blood cancer are today living a normal life. We're making cures happen. Join us. Call 888-HELP-LLS or go to LLS.org. Help us reach today sooner.
JJMcCartney.com.
There's a nasty little criminal on the loose.
It could be in your area. In fact, it could be in your backyard.
It's the Asian longhorn beetle.
Yeah, that's right. A beetle, the insect kind.
Black and white, long striped antenna. It's a tree killer.
This is one bad beetle. It's caused the destruction of thousands of trees already.
Thing is, we can't spot it now. It's gone undercover, inside the trees.
Cold weather drives it into hiding.
So now, it's a game of waiting it out.
What can you do to help?
You can be a beetle buster and protect the trees.
Don't move firewood, because the beetle, its larvae, its eggs, they could be in the wood.
If you move firewood, you could spread the beetle.
So buy it locally, burn it locally. Got it?
It's as simple as black and white. Don't move firewood.
Be a beetle buster. Learn more at beetlebusters.info.
That's beetlebusters.info. A message from the USDA.
Okay, we are back with Dr. Mark Davis. And Dr. Mark, thanks for being with us today. Well, Tom Brady came up short on Sunday, and that means that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. And as if the classy sports fans of Philadelphia, you know the ones I'm talking about, the ones that live right around Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. You know, we're talking about the classiest of the classiest neighborhoods in the area. No, not really. But now they have a Super Bowl champion on their hands, and it never ceases to amaze me. Big city wins Super Bowl. Citizens of big cities start rioting, looting, burning, pillaging. What is it that causes people to behave this way?
Sounds like the Middle Ages. Rioting, pillaging, murdering. It was sound like a riot somewhere in central Yugoslavia, not in America, but that happened in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it also happened it happened in Denver 20 years ago as well. And it's like...
We were in Chester, Pennsylvania the night before. I was putting some keno up there, and everybody was dressed in green in the areas that we were in. It's a lot of areas of Philadelphia are run down. I mean, really, really run down.
Yes.
And they let it start to look like Detroit in the periphery in some cases. And there's a lot of crime in the surrounding towns that enter. In Chester specifically, I'm thinking of Pennsylvania. It is really, really run down.
Well,
I can't describe it.
I know the area around where the football stadium is in Philadelphia is, I mean, you do not want to be there after dark. You just don't.
Sounds like Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly.
In Baltimore. You
it's
don't
like
wanna
they
be
got
there.
this. They got this $500 million stadium built smack dab in the middle of the slums in Philadelphia.
Well, adjacent city across the bay is Camden, New Jersey. That was one of the most rundown cities, worse than Detroit in America as well. And they put a beautiful aquarium in Camden. I don't know if it's still open. You should see this place. It's a phenomenal place. I haven't been in, but I saw it from the outside, and it was a really, really nice place. But nevertheless, this is the political correctness of our time. To place these type of buildings. The National Aquarium, which was not the National Aquarium, they were originally planning to build an aquarium in Washington, D.C., then they took the one in Baltimore and made it the National Aquarium. That also sits in a pretty horrific area.
Wow.
So it's just food for thought, that's all.
Yeah,
Are you aware that Brady got only paid $1 million in 2017?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? He's almost worth almost $200 million.
Yeah, I know that he and this is not uncommon. John Elway did it late in his career. Peyton Manning as well, where they they renegotiated their contracts so that the team could go out and get other players on board that would help them to win another Super Bowl. Yeah. And it's odd. Tom Brady made less money this year than his backup quarterback, whose name is Garofalo. And it's just one of those ironic things that it really doesn't mean anything because he'll get his money. I mean, it's just going to take a little longer. But my goodness, $200 million. And I was speculating on this yesterday. What is wrong with our society that we will pay athletes, hundreds of millions of dollars to do what they do, and yet our doctors, our firefighters, our first responders, the people that save lives, they earn what, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year?
Yes. What you're saying is the media people, the celebrity, the sports person, many of them are centimillionaires, meaning over $100 million.
That's right.
I was looking at Jessica Alba the other day, over $300 million. She's 36 years old. And the list goes on and on. Robert De Niro, almost $300 million. Jack Nicholson, $450 million. William Shatner, $600 million. I mean,
my
people
goodness.
Look these things up.
Wow.
Where's all that money? And we could barely make a living out here. Rush Limbaugh, and I like Rush. I'm a fan of Rush. If I listen to it, it makes $40 million just from his radio show, and who knows what else he makes.
Yep.
Some other things. That's $800,000 a week, $800,000 a week, and teachers are struggling to put paper in front of students.
Yeah.
Lunchrooms are not full because they can't afford to bring food in some of the schools. I mean, it's getting bad out here, and that's why many of these people are to the left, because the laws that touch the people on the right, that don't touch them. You see, that's why Cher can go out and be mean to the president and that kind of thing, because she has everything. She's done everything. So why not go left instead of right? That's all.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why don't we tax the crap out of celebrities that have?
Well, that's a great point. That's an excellent point. What we do is we don't allow any human being in the borders of the United States to hold assets, including their home, of more than $10 million. And we have the Democrats put that out there, and by tomorrow, most of the people will be Republicans.
That's right.
That's the way to go.
That's right.
Exactly the way to go. Limit the amount of money. I'm sure it's limited in certain countries. You cannot have more assets than maybe the president of the country himself. So.
Yeah, the priorities though in this culture are just so skewed that that we pay a Jessica Alba, the way that she gets paid, and yet there's parents out there that can't put shoes on the feet of their kids. And
well, in her regard, she has clothing lines, cosmetic chemicals to use for bathing, that kind of thing.
If she's an entrepreneur, if she's an entrepreneur, I can certainly understand that, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But it's these people that they just step in the room and they are especially rookie quarterbacks in the NFL that they get an agent, they step in the room and they expect anybody that hires them to give them, $20 million up front,
Yeah.
And,
I mean, looking at sports figures homes that are 30, 40, 50-room homes on well-manicured 5 acres, these things, and you find out after they fall from grace, they're living under a bridge somewhere. This is the way society is. It will always be this way. It expands and it contracts just like people do in their finances. And we see people like Brady, who's been as solid as a rock for all that. They hate him.
Yes,
Brady's
they do.
Hate because they him as arrogant. He's just sharpened his skills, and he's good at what he does.
Yeah, and I don't understand why it is that people are so angry. And look, I'm not angry at the success that Tom Brady has had. More power to you if you can do it, and make it stick. I mean, he has been. And by the way, for Tom Brady to do what he's done in his career. He has so far surpassed what he was expected to do when he came to the league that, he commands that high dollar. I understand that. But can any, multi-$100 million athlete, can you really justify the difference that they make to society when compared with, people that are, for example, research scientists at state universities where they're working with grants, and the only reason that they stick with it is because they really want to make a difference, and yet they're having to work with government grants, and they don't have a lot of money to work with, and yet they might not find the cure for whatever it is they're looking for because they don't have the right kind of centrifuge. Or their laboratory is poorly equipped, and yet here we have athletes earning hundreds of millions of dollars. Well,
right, yeah, I see your point, but that's how society is structured. If you look at Brave New World and you read that book, and you see the levels of society from the Deltonic morons to the alpha people, these are people who have risen through the ranks and become alpha people. They weren't just born alpha people. They are what they are because of experience, maybe a little bit of genetics thrown in as well. So why deny them the ability to rise to the top and make lots of money? I think that's what democracy is all about, that your innate talents allow you to climb the mountains of success to where you get to, and Brady sure has done that.
Yeah.
So he is where he is because not because someone gave it to him, because he busted his backside to
Yes, he did.
So
yes,
why
he did.
hate him? But I know he makes off-the-cuff comments. I've heard some of them. But nevertheless, he is good at what he does. And what else would he do if he leaves? He'll be commentator on some ESPN show that nobody's going to watch.
Oh, no, they couldn't afford him. I don't think anybody can afford him.
I want to know. Isn't ESPN owned by one of these larger networks?
It's owned by Disney,
NBC.
But they're in financial. They are in financial ruin. ESPN is in financial ruin. They really are.
Yeah, but they have a big brother up there, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
Nah, I think that Let me ask you this, Dr. Mark Davis. You've played football for 20 years, okay, or close to it. By the time you go back to your college days and all that, you've got all this money. And your wife is Gisele Bündchen. Are you going to take a regular job? Really?
No, I want to go home. You answered your own question. My wife.
I have to say
I want to go home anyway because I have a very good-looking wife. But nevertheless, a lot of men don't want to go home. I knew one of my extended family never wanted to go home.
In a meritocracy, though,
fell asleep there.
In a meritocracy such as ours, and that's what this is. It's a meritocracy. The better you are, the better you should get paid, and that's true of many, many different industries. But in a meritocracy, the only thing that financial success brings you is easier access to whatever it is that you want. But it doesn't reveal the character of people. And, we've seen a lot of people. I mean, look at O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was at the pinnacle of sports when he was playing football. And, he was recognized as, the greatest athlete of his generation. He really was.
Yes, and he was a great actor also. He was funny in the Naked Gun series. I mean, it was just the way he was.
But
the first two movies, at least.
But you look at what was bubbling underneath the surface with this guy, and
of course, it's hate. Yeah, hate and jealousy was there for sure.
And it's hard to reconcile the guy the public persona that he created versus who he really was.
Yeah, but we've moved from a meritocracy to a plutocracy at the present 2018, government by the wealthy. I think that's where we are right now, because so many people that are governing in Washington D.C. are multi-millionaire, and many are centimillionaires as well. Of course, the president is, but I think he's a benign soul, Donald Trump, with all the negative push behind him and some of the things I do know about him from growing up in New York and hearing more local news about Donald Trump. I think his heart's in the right place, and he raised a very good family, even through 3 marriages. The kids are all good kids and whatever. And he likes younger women. That's his thing, and that's going to be the sign of an alpha male, to have the young wife in the room, if you will.
Yeah, I think you look at Donald Trump, and people want to criticize the way he looks. They want to criticize the bombastic nature of the man. But when you go back in time, you listen to the interviews that he did with Oprah Winfrey in the 1980s, and he is amazingly consistent in what he was saying and his worldview. And the fact is, I mean, even back then, he was confident that if he were president, he'd get things done. And it really surprises me how you can underestimate somebody and then not learn when they exceed all your expectations. You can underestimate somebody and say, well, he's still a jerk. But no, it's not that way.
Back in the old days, he received awards from NAACP. He was friendly with Sharpton and Jackson as well.
Right.
He is well known in the black community. When he became a political candidate, is when they started attacking him, thinking that he's going to go for white, wealthy type, which is not true. The plate of the black person right now is a lot better than it was under Obama.
That's right.
Their unemployment has dropped from 15% to 6% in a little over a year with Donald Trump at the helm as well. Yet the Democrats during the State of the Union was sitting on their hands when he said that.
And they like
what's good for the country is not good for the Democrats.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because it undermines their message, which is we're going to help you. Once the help arrives, which it has, their message is gone, and people have to realize that. And the message is gone. And we're on this great radio program, and people should call in to counter what we're saying and why Trump is so bad, but they won't because they can't. And he got a 75%. Trump got a 75% approval rating for his State of the Union message, which was very long, by the way. It was like an hour and a half or something.
Well, you can do that when you're Donald Trump. you could talk as long as you want.
I mean yeah, but you have Obama getting up there mumbling and knocking the country and pulling it down, and I'm going to executive order this and he made the Dreamer problem what it is, the DACA problem what it is, the immigration problem what it is, the demilitarized country that we have. He's destroyed our international relations on a number of levels. He signed those false treaties with Iran. It was pushing one for North Korea. They kept putting it down the road. Well, we're down the road now. We have a guy that wants to take care of things, and everybody's saying it's bad. And you know who's going to complain? The left always complains.
Oh,
the
sure.
Hollywood people.
Yeah.
The Robert De Niro, how dare you, I'm going to punch him in the nose. Or you're going to have a Madonna saying, I'm going to blow up the White House.
And then they wonder why.
She's a $500 million woman, by the way.
And then those
Madonna.
Hollywood types wonder why their box office draws are not nearly as high as they used to be. Well, there you go.
I'm not going to any movie.
No.
I haven't seen the last Star. I was online for the first Star Wars movie back in 1977 with my wife. I was in my last year of medical school, and I enjoyed the series. through Natalie Portman, but the new ones are garbage.
Yeah,
they're horrible.
It's
I saw one of them, and it was just garbage.
If it's not a George Lucas production, then yeah, it's not gonna live up to the
politically correct, and you can watch the movie and see it through and through. All the aliens, even the dressed up as aliens, have English accents. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
It was done. It was so shoddily done. It was just unbelievable. They went to some desolate location and maybe a junkyard or something. They filmed it.
Well, it's kind of what it is it's kind of like it's like taking a Yugo and then slapping a Cadillac logo on the front of it.
Right, exactly right. The prior 6 done under George Lucas were really good movies, detailed. You can watch them over and over again. And you can always see something different in the movie. These movies now have and I'm not trying to defame the actor or actresses in it, but they're not good. They're just not good.
Well,
and I'm sorry Harrison Ford's not in the rest of them. I'm sorry the rest are not there either. So.
Well, I think that they should have left it alone. 6 was enough. They should have just left it alone. And instead it was greed, filthy lucre that comes along. People want to make, you want to milk that cash cow for all it's worth. Yeah. And I think they'd have been much better off to just hold back the movies for another, 5 years and then re-release them in the theaters just like they did 20 years ago. Where they're able to draw even more box office revenue from stuff that was done 40 years ago. You can't improve.
Do you remember the cartoon Lady and the Tramp?
Yes.
The dogs.
Yes.
Lady and they bring that back every generation.
That's right.
It brings millions. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or the Hounds of Baskerville, or one of these kind of things.
Or
pretty interesting.
101 Dalmatians. They did the same thing.
That's out. It's out it's on cable right now.
And then there was that piece of crap that Glenn Close did, 101 Dalmatians, which was just moronic. It really was.
Yeah, did you see the updated Three Stooges movie?
No, I didn't.
2012. It wasn't bad, actually. The actors were very, very good.
I was going to ask, were the actors George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, and
no, that was the sequel.
Ah, okay.
That was the sequel. You missed it. I was ready for you on that one.
Yeah.
I know you said that.
Three Stooges, I tell you.
Yeah, the Three Stooges. That was what they called slapstick comedy.
Yes,
hitting each other over the head with sound effects. They never hurt anybody.
It's
everybody
the thing I
was
love
brothers,
about
except
it.
Larry Fine, the curly-haired one.
Yeah,
not curly, but
the ladies.
Woman,
the ladies don't like
it. The rest were brothers.
The ladies don't really like it too much, but the guys. I mean, it's lowest common denominator humor, and it's funny stuff. It really is. It's like when I saw the movie. When I saw the movie Dumb and Dumber. I laughed my butt off. I laughed my butt off.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one, though. But I would tell you, some people say in psychology, the more complex the mind, the more simple the play it needs to relieve itself for recreation. And I believe that. I do believe that. I don't have a very complex mind. But in any sense, I think people need an outlet somewhere, somehow. And everybody has their own way to do those things.
Yeah.
Some men go out and chop wood. Other women go to a beauty parlor. I don't know. Who am I to
it's honestly, it's like men and women, in order to peacefully coexist, you have to tolerate some of the stuff that you can't stand. Or what you do is you say, fine, honey, you go to the beauty shop. I'm gonna go and have fun with the guys, sometimes that type of thing is necessary for your relationship to actually, be
in
tolerable.
Closing, I take my marching orders from my other half.
Yeah.
My female other half of 44 years of marriage, so we got married very young.
Wow.
And that's it. And they both worked our way through the professional schools, and then that's what we are. So here we are. I mean, here we are. On a great show, on a great day, approaching springtime, and I wish everybody well out there. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. It's good to have you with us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
If you
same time, same
I'll always
place.
be happy to come on your show.
All right.
You bet.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Take care.
day. And be
God
well. I
bless
hope you
you.
get well. I hope
Thank
you feel
you.
better. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, gang, that's Dr. Mark Davis, and he's with us every other Tuesday on the J.J. McCartney Show. We are live every weekday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Hour number 2 of the J.J. McCartney Show. We'll jump into the news in hour number 2 coming up next.
California, at least 13 people were arrested as hundreds blocked traffic on 2 major highways, waving Mexican flags and burning a giant effigy of Donald Trump. Police fired rubber bullets, and pepper spray at hundreds of protesters after the crowds took over major intersections.
Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Homophobia, sexual assault, white supremacy.
In terms of reaching out and being inclusive, he's done that too. And a will to risk to make things better and opportunities to embrace the underserved communities.
White privilege!
Load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
Here in New York, as many as 10,000 people surged through the streets and surrounded the barricaded-off Trump Tower where Donald Trump lives.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
We reject the president-elect! Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
I think it speaks to the disenfranchisement of the people that someone like him could be seen as offering anything to the masses.
Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Little snowflake falling from the sky.
What about gay people? Trump has vowed to protect the LGBT community from a fanatical ideology that represents its biggest threat: radical Islam.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology.
Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
He is a racist.
Under Obama, more black people are living below the poverty line. The number of African Americans on food stamps has increased 58% under Obama.
On every leading economic issue, on the major economic issues, black Americans have lost ground in every one of those leading categories. So for the last 10 years, it's not been good for black folks.
Is this how the left helps black communities? By making them poorer and more dependent on government. Race relations are at their worst in decades. 8 years of Obama has been devastating for the black community.
He is a sexist. He is a neo-Nazi.
Well, we don't understand why you called in the National Guard.
Falling on my nose.
Not my president. He is a lying ass.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
Fake ass.
Little snowflake falling from the sky.
Dumb ass son of a bitch.
Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake falling, 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 falling.
That's not my president! That's not my president! Load up, load up, load up, rubber bullets.
Falling in my hand.
Thank you for
for taking America back 60 years of progress.
Falling on my head.
You just voted in a Nazi fascist.
Falling on my nose. Falling in my hand. Snowflake, snowflake, little snowflake.
What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do?
Live from the Nightside Radio Studios.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Coming to you from Nebraska by way of Alaska. Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, thank you, Marcus, and welcome back, everybody. It is the Tuesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show, hour number 2. And boy, have we got a great show lined up for you. The second hour today, ladies and gentlemen, we will fill you with information and opinion and commentary. And we'll take your phone calls at 855-853-5227. Hour number 2 of the J.J. McCartney Show, next. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. We begin this second hour by giving you an update on what is happening at the Olympics. Now, they haven't started yet. They don't start till Thursday. However, there is news from Pyeongchang, South Korea. The organizing committee for the Pyeongchang Olympics has called in 900 military personnel after more than 1,200 security workers were pulled off duty because of concerns about the spread of the novovirus. Christopher Dubai, IOC Executive Director of the Olympic Games, said that the organizing committee had 32 cases of norovirus, which have been confirmed. And those people were quarantined after being treated. Those 32 cases involved 21 private security staff members from the Horeb Youth Center and 11 people from other locations, including 3 foreigners. In a statement, the Pyongyang Olympic Organizing Committee said that, the Pyeongchang Olympic Organizing Committee said that starting Sunday, workers reported headaches, stomach pain, and diarrhea. The Gangwon Province Health and Environment Research Center found 41 workers with symptoms that might be related to the virus. The others have been pulled from duty to prevent possible spreading of the illness. The workers are largely responsible for checking credentials and screening baggage entering the venues. The military personnel were brought in from about 40 minutes away. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, norovirus is considered highly contagious and typically includes symptoms of diarrhea, stomach pain, vomiting, and nausea. The organizing committee said groundwater used in food and beverages at the Horeb Youth Center, a housing facility, was suspected. In a statement late tonight, that is, remember the date line is between us, the committee said the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety and Ministry of Environment had checked the water used for cooking and consumption over 5 days and found it tested negative for norovirus. On Monday, the Korean Center for Disease Control and Prevention began a survey of everyone staying there. Those workers displaying symptoms will be sent to the hospital, and those that do not will remain at the center until there are no further cases. The affected workers have been isolated and asked to stay in their accommodations. In the absence, 900 military personnel will work across 20 venues until the affected workers can return. The organizing committee is working with the Korean CDC to stop the spread of the virus, including disinfecting facilities and equipment. Organizers shared tips to help prevent the virus, which includes washing hands with soap for more than 30 seconds, eating food that is thoroughly cooked, and boiling water before drinking. So there's the story from the Olympics. There you go. Yeah, we don't have the official music to play for you, but you can trust me when I tell you that the Olympic Games start on Thursday, which means that they actually start tomorrow, our time, as I understand it. Opening ceremonies and all that jazz. Okay, gang, we do have news to share with you. There's all kinds of crazy things going on, including, as I said, the tsunami warning that was a false alarm sent out by the National Weather Service. Oops. But there is across the globe, there was a 6.4 magnitude earthquake in Taiwan. 2 people confirmed dead. More than 180 are injured as this story unfolds. 6.4 magnitude earthquake caused a hotel to collapse. The Marshall Hotel collapsed after the earthquake on the island of Taiwan late Tuesday. 2 people reported dead, 180 injured. The hotel that collapsed in eastern Taiwan after the 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit at 11:50 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 3:50 p.m., about 13 miles northeast of the port city of Hualien, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Images on local TV showed the Marshall Hotel in Hualien slanted on its side, partially crumpled into the ground. Local media reported a number of buildings had toppled, with around 30 people potentially trapped in the collapsed hotel, with others crawling to safety or being evacuated. And some spectacular pictures from the scene, and including the picture of the actual hotel, which is, I mean, it really is an odd sight to see. And I think what I'll do is I'll save the image and see if I can publish it here so that you can see what we're talking about. We'll save that, and then we'll go here, and I'll try to show you the image that we just downloaded. There we go. All right, there it is. We'll expand it a little bit so you can see it on the YouTube feed. Look at that. Isn't that odd? I mean, it's just leaning. And obviously, part of the building has collapsed, and the rest of it is it's like a domino that's stuck in a lean. But yeah, that's just one of the pictures of the damage there in Taiwan. So, so far the fatalities number is minimal, and that's good. Hopefully everybody can get rescued. But just a 6.4 earthquake can cause that kind of damage. Now just imagine a bigger earthquake. I mean, they're predicting that if the Cascadia subduction zone, if that fault were to generate the size quake that they're anticipating, which is somewhere in the vicinity of 9.0 or higher. Imagine the effect on places like Seattle, other coastal communities on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest. It is, and not to mention the tsunami that would be generated by such a thing. But in this case, no tsunami, at least none reported. And the 6.4 earthquake, which obviously happened a few hours ago. We'll keep our eye on it. Let you know what we find out. As I said, phone lines are open, folks. 855-853-5227 is the toll-free telephone number. And if you've got something on your mind, you want to share your thoughts on the stock market, if you want to talk about whatever's on your mind, we could talk about, the new threat from President Trump. Trump says, I would love to see a shutdown unless the Democrats fix immigration. Now, the president said this. He said he would welcome another government shutdown unless Democrats agree to major changes to stop illegal immigration. He says, I'd love to see a shutdown. This is from the Washington Times, by the way. I'd love to see a shutdown if we can't get this stuff taken care of. The president said at a White House roundtable discussion discussing MS-13 gang violence and illegal immigration. President Trump has laid out a four-prong approach to immigration discussions on Capitol Hill, saying he would accept a generous amnesty for 1.8 million illegal immigrant dreamers in exchange for major policy changes, including a border wall and more authority to speed deportations. Democrats want a more generous amnesty of perhaps 3.2 million illegal immigrants. But they're resisting his enforcement changes, saying it would punish other immigrants, both legal and illegal. Little progress is being made in negotiations. President Trump says he's refused to agree to a legalization-only bill. He says, then shut it down. We'll go with another shutdown. See, this is all about the Democrats. I mean, they have chosen to behave like spoiled children. And the president's simply not going to take it. Representative Barbara Comstock, a Virginia Republican who represents a number of federal employees, said she hoped that wasn't going to be needed, suggesting coverage of MS-13 violence has spurred both sides to be ready to accept changes. She said, we don't need a government shutdown on this. Trump fired back, we're not getting support from the Democrats. The government careened into a short, partial shutdown last month after Democrats refused to fund the government unless dreamers were granted citizenship rights. Senator Charles Schumer, a Democrat, I can't say what I'm really thinking right now, said the president was the only one looking for a shutdown. He says, we had a Trump shutdown. No, Chucky, it was your shutdown, Flemwad. And that was made clear by the voters. The American people blamed the Democrats for that shutdown, and rightly so. See, when you're in the minority, you can't afford to be inflexible when it comes to negotiating. And Chuck, you're in the minority. That's all you are. You certainly don't run the show. And if you want to know why the midterm elections are so important, it's because you got complete human waste in the form of Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Sheila Jackson Lee. You got people like that in Congress and the Senate. And if they worm their way into the majority, well, it's going to be, it's going to make bad matters worse. The American people need to understand this. President Trump is trying to fix what's wrong. The Democrats, on the other hand, are trying to perpetuate what's wrong. There's a clear difference. People need to understand this. This is not about the parties, though. This is about the people. This is about the president, as I said, trying to fix things. And there is one political party that is dead set against fixing things. The other political party, well, you don't necessarily rely on them either. I mean, after all, you've got John McCain trying to introduce legislation that would shut down funding for the wall. That's John McCain, ladies and gentlemen. Shouldn't he be in a hospital somewhere or laying on his deathbed? John McCain is trying to fly one more middle finger at Donald Trump before he croaks. He's no hero. John McCain is no hero. And the fact that the man is dying doesn't change what he is. And what he's trying to do right now, it's a personal vendetta. It's all personal with John McCain. He doesn't care what happens to the American people. He certainly doesn't care what happens to the people in Arizona. All he's trying to do is throw one more middle finger in the face of Donald Trump before John McCain bites the dust. Now, John, please don't hang around on our account. We'll be back.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage, no problem. Advice, no problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president.
I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
This vast right-wing conspiracy.
I never told anybody to lie.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
Not a single time. Never. These allegations are false.
This vast right-wing conspiracy.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
The Clintons took $2 million from me and hid it.
Now, what we're looking at here is the largest election law fraud in the history of the United States.
Allegations of lying about the cost of a fundraiser put together on her behalf.
This vast right-wing conspiracy.
Whatever it is you're doing, is it okay that I thank you?
You know what? We're having a good time trying to help out.
This sounds like it's going to be a great event. I'm glad you were all together so that I could tell you how much this means to me.
This vast right-wing conspiracy.
I've got your 6.
I've got your 6.
I've got your 6.
In the military, got your 6 means I've got your back.
I've got your 6.
Through jobs, education, housing, and more, we can support returning military veterans and their families. Please show your support and prove to a veteran you've got their 6.
I've got your six.
I've got your six.
Go to gotyoursix.org for more information and to purchase Six merchandise like the now famous Six lapel pin that you can buy and wear to show your support.
The cure for the common show. JJMcCartney.com.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's like tiny nails in the air poke my lungs. I start to cough. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
Today, 1 out of 13 children suffer from some form of asthma, accounting for nearly 1/3 of all emergency room visits.
I feel like I'm choking. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. A little whistle sound comes out when I breathe.
But while your child may suffer from asthma doesn't have to make your child suffer. There are simple ways you can prevent your child's next attack. To learn more, log on to www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
Okie dokie, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you with us on the Tuesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show. Thanks for being with us. Okay. We were talking about the Democrats and how insane they are, how they truly want to perpetuate misery and suffering, and they want to bring America down, all the way down to third world status. They really do. Now you say, why would they do something crazy like that? It's because these people are crazy. For example, U.S. Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat from California. Listen to the nonsense this man is spewing. He has a bizarre new Russia conspiracy theory, saying that Moscow promoted America's Second Amendment during the 2016 presidential election so Americans would kill each other. Now, Russians were posting content on social media, Schiff explained, at a University of Pennsylvania event last week that was designed to pit us against each other, to exploit our divisions. No. No, you Democrats are doing a fine job of that yourselves. He said, you had the content that was clearly anti-Hillary, and you had the content that was very pro-Trump. But even the bigger quantity of content that was being pushed through social media was just content designed to pit us against each other. They also trumpeted the Second Amendment. Apparently, the Russians are very big fans of our Second Amendment. They don't particularly want a Second Amendment of their own, but they're really glad we have one. The Russians would be thrilled if we were doing nothing but killing each other every day, and sadly we are. Now, Schiff, remember this, folks. Schiff is the highest-ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. He recently made headlines when he blasted the release of the GOP memo, which he called a political hit job on the FBI. He claims the White House likely coordinated with GOP congressmen to release the memo in an effort to interfere with the Trump-Russia investigation. Now, Schiff claimed releasing the memo might allow another Oklahoma City bombing-type incident to happen. In 1994, Oklahoma bombing accomplice Terry Nichols purchased more than 2,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, enough to fertilize a dozen acres of farmland. But the real damage they have done is they have damaged the relationship between our committee and the intelligence community in the future. Schiff said of Republicans and President Trump, who authorized the release of the memo. He said, the Intelligence Committee is going to be very wary about sharing information with us because they won't trust us to be responsible stewards of it. And sources of information are going to dry up. If you have a neighbor next door who's buying a lot of fertilizer and it seems odd to you because they don't have a yard, are you going to think twice before calling the FBI? Because if they get a search warrant for your neighbor and something is politicized, the political winds change and there's an investigation, your identity is going to be revealed. Because you really can't trust that this is going to be kept confidential anymore. There's a reason why this process has never been used before. Even so, the process presumed that the President of the United States, who has a veto over this, would be a responsible person who would have the interest of the nation at heart, and that's not what we have here, said Adam Schiff. The House Intelligence Committee voted unanimously Monday to release the 10-page Democratic memo, this one written by Schiff, countering Republican claims that the FBI abused surveillance laws when it sought to spy on Trump campaign officials. Schiff claims the 4-page GOP memo written by Representative Devin Nunes, chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, is inaccurate and misleading. President Trump now has 5 days to object or authorize release of Schiff's memo. But on Monday, Trump accused Schiff of criminally leaking sensitive information. He tweeted, we'll get to it in a second. He tweeted, little Adam Schiff, who is desperate to run for higher office, is one of the biggest liars and leakers in Washington, right up there with Comey, Warner, Brennan, and Clapper. Adam leaves closed committee hearings to illegally leak confidential information. Must be stopped. Schiff responded to Trump's tweet saying, Mr. President, I see you've had a busy morning of executive time. Instead of tweeting false smears, the American people would appreciate it if you turned off the TV and helped solve the funding crisis, protected dreamers or really anything else. And Schiff then went to CNN and said, it may be time for White House Chief of Staff General Kelly to give the president a timeout. I think the country would certainly benefit from that anyway. He added, I'm very careful not to disclose classified information or even things that happen in closed sessions, so it's a baseless attack. In July of last year, the president gave Representative Schiff an appropriate nickname, Sleazy. Sleazy Adam Schiff, the totally biased congressman looking into Russia, spends all of his time on television pushing the Democrat loss excuse. Now, Adam Schiff is a worthless piece of human waste. He really is. You don't have to do much modifying to his last name to figure that out. Okay, folks. Toll-free phone lines are open, 855-853-5227. Elsewhere in the news. And by the way, that toll-free number, did I tell you it's toll-free? I did. 855-853-5227. Sarah Silverman, one of the most disgusting human beings on the planet. She calls herself an actress and comedian. I'll let you be the judge of that. At a telethon, listen to this, at a telethon to raise money for abortions, Sarah Silverman declared that laws banning the use of aborted fetuses in food products would make me want to eat an aborted fetus. The show referenced an Oklahoma bill that was proposed after a food lab reportedly sought to use stem cells in its artificial flavorings. It's this bananas law that makes you think that eating fetuses is a thing, and it's not, said Sarah Silverman. She said, by the way, the event was called Life is a Living Nightmare, a telethon to fix it. Silverman actually spoke at the 2016 Democrat National Convention in support of Hillary Clinton. And now you know, ladies and gentlemen, these people are sick. And by the way, the whole idea of eating fetuses, it is not just the figment of somebody's imagination. This is actually something that is done by globalists, by Satanists. It is a ritual thing they do. And if you think that there is not a market for this among the globalists, among the Luciferians out there, then you're not paying attention to what's happening in the real world. Remember the opening ceremony for the tunnel in Switzerland? Do you remember this? Do you recall anything about this? We covered it shortly after it happened, about a year ago. One of the most disgusting things I have ever witnessed. This is more of what these people on the left actually stand for. Silverman said, if anything has ever made me want to eat an aborted fetus, it's this law. The expletive-riddled telethon was hosted by the Lady Parts Justice League, a feminist organization founded by The Daily Show co-creator Liz Winstead, who hosted the event with Sarah Silverman. The 4-hour show included abortion charades called Shitty Law Charades. And the laws were introduced by a woman wearing a vagina costume. The event also featured an interview with abortionist Willie Parker. Volunteers acted out laws banning the use of fetuses in food products and another mandating that clinics must bury or cremate aborted babies. Now, this is the language used by Sarah Silverman. She said, effing funerals for effing aborted fetuses, except she used the entire word. She says, I would like to speak at those funerals. He lived the way he died. He died the way he lived. The size of a sesame seed with no discerning brain function. As for conscience clause legislation, laws protecting medical professionals from being forced to provide abortion services against their religion or conscience, Silverman shared her thoughts on those too, saying, religious freedom used to be such a beautiful thing because it was like this big inclusive thing in the country. And now it's just this shroud to legalize hate and shit like that. While one charade was acted out, Life News reported one volunteer shouted, "Kill the baby!" Some viewers posted their responses to the telethon on YouTube, including the following: abortion is evil. This is beyond bizarre. What kind of twisted people do this? Horrible behavior, celebrating killing innocent children. And the last comment really sums it up. It said, I'm not sure they are human. Speaking of Silverman and her associates. And that's being really kind. We've got more to come, ladies and gentlemen. Much more to come on the Tuesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show. Phone lines open, 855-853-5227. We'll be back in just a minute.
If you agree with JJ's conservative pillars for rescuing America's economy, stay tuned for more. If you are a liberal and think everything is okay, you can go pet your unicorn now.
This was not what I was expecting at all. I just thought someone was going to ask me my career plans, and that would be it.
Scared Straight, Liberal Arts Edition.
Now shut up and listen. I majored in the humanities. I racked up $200,000 worth of debt, majoring in studio art and film studies. What was I thinking?
My name is Laura. I'm a creative writing major. I wanted to write fairy tales, and now I live with my parents.
My name is Mateo, and my major was ceramics with a minor in electronic music. I can't even get a job at Pottery Barn.
You can't look someone in the eyes and say, I studied the tribal dance of the Hopi Indians.
Everybody put up the number 4 in the air. That's how many years you have to make it right. If you go to grad school, that's another 4 years.
Don't go to grad school!
Don't go to grad school!
You think that's funny? I racked up another $100,000 worth of debt in grad school. Wipe that smirk off your face! I'm gonna be paying off my student debt until I'm dead!
When you're the oldest person working at a coffee bean, you come find me and tell me you don't drink yourself to sleep.
What's your major? Music? You better learn how to make ringtones.
I'll hand you my phone, all right? Yeah. I want you to take it, I want you to put it up to your ear. And I want you to repeat after me. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Can I have $1,000 for rent this month?
Can I have $1,000 for rent this month?
Yeah, you're gonna be saying that every month until you decide to become a teacher at 32.
Do you have a Costco card?
Of course I don't have a Costco card. There are membership fees for that.
We brought you here. We're yelling at you because nobody else will.
Don't let this happen to you.
I mean, I'm used to these kind of talks.
I'd rather hear it from angry people than from my parents.
My wife and I are spending more time on our computer.
It's so convenient.
Yeah, but there can be a downside.
Right, like buying fake drugs that are being sold over the internet.
Yeah, we learned the hard way.
At the emergency room.
Never buy prescription or over-the-counter drugs online from unknown or unlicensed sources, as they are often dangerous fakes. Counterfeits hurt, but you have the power to stop them. Go to www.ncpc.org/getreal. Brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the Bureau of Justice Assistance, U.S. Department of Justice.
JJMcCartney.com.
Why is everyone so excited? America's national parks are turning 100 this year. Visit findyourpark.com to join the party.
All right, welcome back. It's the Tuesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show. Ladies and gentlemen, they're crazy, and they're getting crazier all the time. People on the left. And if you want to go as far left as you can go in the United States, not counting Alaska and Hawaii, then that will put you in the state of California. Stockton, California, went bankrupt just 6 years ago. But that isn't stopping the Central Valley city from experimenting with a new scheme to redistribute taxpayer money. It's called Universal Basic Income, or UBI. And soon, Mayor Michael Tubbs will be overseeing a pilot project in which low-income residents get handed $500 a month, no questions asked. I feel that as mayor, it's my responsibility It's my responsibility. I've got dogs making noises in the studio. Sorry about that. I feel that as mayor, it's my responsibility to do all I could to begin figuring out what's the best way to make sure the folks in our community have a real economic floor. The advocates of the plan make no bones about the fact that they think the idea will work and will serve as a showcase for other cities and states and even our nations. Other nations. Universal basic income is now firmly in mainstream political discourse. Political parties, activist groups, and now even think tanks, such as the right of center, are talking about this policy seriously. Really. While some may see UBI as just the latest harebrained idea from those seeking to reframe socialism, it's also being touted by at least one conservative think tank, the Adam Smith Institute, and that has progressives concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, just giving money away. And in a city that went bankrupt 6 years ago. Weird. Let's go to the state of, I believe it's Idaho, and say hello to John. Hello, John. Or is it Jen? You're on the J.J. McCartney Show. Hello?
Hi, it's Jen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you, Jen?
Good, pardon me. I was just laughing. My kids are playing a joke on me. They're shaking this apple, and they're like, if it's a real apple, you can hear the seeds shake inside of it. And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, you can. And they have this apple, and she's shaking it. And I'm like, what I'm doing is far more important than listening to your apple, and it's actually shaking. So I'm not sure how they did it. They must have cut it open and hulled something and put beans in it. I don't know, but it's flabbergasting me. Anyhow, I saw the Super Bowl this Sunday, and I'm very ashamed to say that because we're supposed to be boycotting that, and we have been for so long, especially after this latest antic they pulled when the vets submitted their commercial to the Super Bowl, and the head of the NFL guy, he wouldn't play it. He said, no, it's too political. And, it just drove me nuts. I'm like, oh, my God, you're not going to stand for the national anthem, and all the money that you guys are making are from us, and they're just jerks. And so I was one of them, and I watched the game. The only, the only good moment, well, the whole thing was good, actually. It was a good game, but the best part was justifying. The justifying moment was at the very end when Nick Foles gave God the glory. And I thought,
yes.
Oh, my gosh, that is the quarterback for the Eagles. But
yes.
The game, people were praying. Oh, it was great. It was funny. It was very funny. It was almost watching people act stupid. Like you're talking about the pink hats, the women who are fighting for right, where it's stupid like that. That's how dumb it was. There's one part where one guy from the Patriots was charging towards an eagle because the ball was coming towards him, and he jumped over him. We're like, what the heck? We're like, good thing he wore his cup today because the poor guy's helmet got stuck in his legs. We're like, what the heck? And something we never saw. We're like, he's not a short man. What are you doing? It was just absolutely silly to watch, like, the Patriots be dumbfounded. They were totally dumbfounded. They said they made a lot of bad plays, and I'm thinking, no, you made all bad. The whole thing was ridiculous. They'd do field kicks, and they'd hit the field goal. It would, like, bounce off the yellow 8 thing. Yeah, it was ridiculous, JJ. It was really funny.
Well, the thing is, first of all, Nick Foles, he is an outspoken Christian, and his plans are, once he leaves professional football, he's going to be a pastor. And, that had to really stick in the craw of the media,
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled that this kid won the MVP. To me, that if you're going to take something bad like NFL football and then do it better than anybody else and then give the glory to God, then what you've done, have done is you have delivered the ultimate testimony. And I was very thrilled that to hear this young man is so in love with the Lord that he doesn't fear the slings and arrows of man. And I remember when Evander Holyfield defeated Mike Tyson, knocked him out in their first fight. And that made him the undisputed champion of the world. And you get these reporters in the ring with him, and they're asking him all kinds of questions about the fight. And he keeps talking about how he's giving all the glory to his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ over and over again. Beautiful. Just not entertaining these ideas that it had anything to do with strategy or technique. It was all about God. It was all about Jesus. It was all about that. And you could see these sports reporters getting angry because he wouldn't answer their questions with the same old, P's and Q's about boxing. He wanted to talk about the Lord. And I think that this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of thing that we don't see enough of in the world of sports. But boy, I tell you, when the Lord decides to open somebody's mouth and give them utterance, it is like nothing else in the world. It is like it causes me to feel such a kinship with these people, and to understand that the world doesn't want God to get the glory for anything, and they prove it. I mean, look at how they treat star athletes these days. I mean, they shower them with superlatives. But the instant that they say something about Jesus, all of a sudden they start rolling their eyes because they just cannot stand the thought of God getting the glory. And, we have a remarkable opportunity every time somebody like this stands up and gives testimony in front of the world. And what we have to do is we have to teach our kids to be that fearless and to be that outspoken. And you know what? If it gets you suspended from school, praise God. If it gets, seriously, I mean, we have to be every day we have to make this stand.
That's good. That's very good. And we're using the example even now, talking with our 18-year-old who's in college about Daniel. And he's coming up, it's just a community college, but he's coming up against a lot of worldly leftist rhetoric in everything. And he can't believe it. And we're talking about Daniel, and we're like, do what you're supposed to do. This is making you stronger. And it's scary, but what's going to happen? You get kicked out of school? And he's like, if I did, would I be in trouble? And we said, no, if you got kicked out for the right reasons. But I just cannot believe we're in such an exciting time where we actually get to worry about these things, but not to the point of deep beheading like they had back in the day, or being thrown into the lion's den.
Right.
Right. It's a lot more peaceful.
Well, I'll tell you this, there are places in the world where it is that way. And
you're right.
First of all, I'm thankful to God that I was born in this nation where we have the freedom to exercise our religion, where we're protected by the Constitution from people that would oppress us because of our faith. And yet, all around the culture, there are people trying to do just that.
Right.
There really are. And, we have a rare gift, and that is that we are free to think and do as we please in this country. Sadly, a lot of people that claim to be Christians have chosen not to take advantage of that freedom of expression. And we are responsible for what we do with the gospel of Christ. We're responsible for that. And if we don't speak out, who knows how many lives are affected by us not speaking out? And it's
You're
like,
right. Oh gosh, it's scary.
When you think about the good shepherd that's, willing to leave the 99 to go after the one lost sheep. And then you say, well, what can I do for God? Well, maybe you're that vessel that goes after the lost sheep. But if you don't, then guess what? You're responsible for that lost sheep. And it is an awesome responsibility. And, folks, you might think, am I being a zealot? Am I being overly religious or whatever? This has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with Jesus. Jesus is not a religion. Mm-hmm. Jesus is not a religion. Jesus is the religion. That's the only religion. All the rest are imitations. All the rest are posers. All the rest are fakes. And I'm sorry if that offends you in the Buddhist world or the Hindi world or the Muslim world or whatever world you come from. But there's only one name on earth and in heaven. Only one name by which you can be saved. So, Amen. Am I hating you? Good. Am I hating you by telling you that, or am I loving you by telling you that? If it's the only way, and you choose another way, and nobody ever tells you that you chose the wrong way, then what does that say about us? It says we're gutless.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
How do you? Good. We're instructed to love our fellow man. How can you love somebody and then send them on their way to hell?
Oh, I know. That's good. I heard that.
Send them on their way to hell with a smile.
Yeah. Because you don't want them to think less of you. Dignity is not a fruit of the Spirit.
No.
And so once I heard someone say that, I said, no kidding. In other words, who cares? It doesn't matter what they think of you. It doesn't matter at all. But what does matter is what God thinks of you. And if he gives you the words to say and you're not doing it, you were his representative. You were his ambassador. You failed. And
to fail to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ or to fail to share it, at best, it's antipathy. And at worst, it is something much more evil than that. If you don't care enough about somebody to tell them the truth, then what does that make you? I mean, it's how can you be so indifferent? I mean, everywhere you look, you will see people that are precious to God. And yet so many of them are on a path that will lead them to eternal separation from God. And you know what? You're equipped with all the information you need to show them the way. And it just, all it takes is courage and faith, obedience, and then trust God. That's all you can do.
Yes.
Whew.
Amen.
My
That's
goodness.
Good stuff. Good preaching, brother. That's good.
I'm so glad you called today, Jen. I really am. Because you know what?
It's awesome.
Ultimately, it comes down to, we talk about the only thing that matters. In a world where they're so focused on what doesn't matter, we talk about the important stuff. And I thank you for that.
Amen. That's good. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, thank you for taking my call.
Well, thank you, Jen. Have a great day. Love you.
I love you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. It's amazing how God has given us these people, these amazing people in our lives. Brothers and sisters that we may never have met otherwise. And, Jen and Jesse and the kids. I say the kids. I mean, the oldest, I think, is 19. But they're such good people. And we're blessed to know them. And the wonderful part is that, God gives us these people. And at the moment when we need it most, there they are. It's amazing. Don't take for granted the brothers and sisters that God sends your way. Really. And just remember, folks, we have to be looking after one another and praying for one another every day. If we're not doing that, then we're missing the mark. We really are. All right, my friends, that's going to do it for the Tuesday edition of the J.J. McCartney Show. Thanks to Dr. Mark Davis for being with us in hour number 1. And thanks to all of you for listening today. Tomorrow, IQ Al Rassouli will be with us. Until then, be good to yourselves, and if you possibly can, be good to someone else. And remember, we'll win in the end because there are more of us than there are of them, because God is with us, and because we are all in this thing together. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.